have a fireside chat. Our moderator for this would be, once again, please put your hands together for Mr. Varun Varma, Principal at Fireside Ventures. A huge round of applause. In conversation with Varun, we have with us Saloni Anand, co-founder at Traya. A huge round of applause. A sincere request, those of you at my left, requesting you to kindly be seated, or requesting you if you could kindly take the conversation a bit outside. We have the session waiting. Thank you. Varun, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you once again for having us. And thank you, Saloni, for agreeing to do this. I'll quickly introduce Saloni. She's the co-founder of Traya, and I'll let her talk a little bit about Traya. But before that, she claims to be an accidental entrepreneur. She's an engineer and an MBA by training, and then now is running a health tech startup focused on reducing hair loss, which has been supremely successful. We're very proud investors in the business and have really enjoyed working with the team. So welcome, Saloni. If you don't mind starting with a little bit about your journey and also talking about how you ended up starting this. I know there's a personal story there, and what you all do today.
Sure. Thanks, Varun. So hello everyone. Me and my husband, also my co-founder, we started Traya 5 years ago. We both don't come from anything to do with hair, cosmetics, health. And Traya is an outcome of a personal health struggle that we went through. So my co-founder got diagnosed with hypothyroidism, and this was when he was running his previous startup, which was in food. And what a startup gives you is a lot of chronic health diseases that nobody talks about. But we started chasing his thyroid, and in that journey of trying to fix his thyroid, his hair regrew. We didn't know back then that this could lead to a company, but about 2 years later, we seriously started working on the formulations, got a phenomenal success rate of 93% in the first study that we performed, where people saw legit hair regrowth. So Traya is not a hair fall control company. We work on hair regrowth, and that's my way of sort of putting it out. But I think the biggest learning that we had in this journey, and where the accidental entrepreneur comes from, is that a lot of people who are in the hair industry look at the industry in a certain way. So if you look at the hair industry, it's full of shampoos, conditioners, masks, and this is what people use. And but if you look at the problem, which is hair loss, it's very, very internal. It requires working on your gut, your sleep, your stress, your hormones. It requires a lot of internal correction to happen in the body to be able to regenerate those follicles, activate them, and regrow your hair. And I think that's a lens that people in the industry never looked at this problem from. And not having a baggage of how the industry works really helped us sort of start off. We started with a very clear vision, which is efficacy. And I think that sort of led us to be where we are today. 5 years later, we still just do one thing, which is hair loss. And we are an 800 size organization that's just busy helping people grow hair.
So if you don't mind, by the way, I've been to your office, and you can feel how busy it is. It's humongous in Mumbai, and you can really sense the energy when you get there. Why do you have 800 people?
So when we started Traya, we saw that we have a formulation that can grow hair. But the secret to growth or success with the treatment is that the person going through hair loss has to use Traya for 5 to 6 months. It's a slow process. It needs habit building. It needs adherence. Now, if I'll get the best magic pill to you, but if you don't put it in your mouth, there's not going to be success. So internally, we realized very early on that we are not a hair company. We're not a product company for sure. We are a habit building company. And only through that we'll be able to deliver success. Now, to be able to deliver that kind of adherence, we tried everything from tech, data, AI. And one piece that has been phenomenal to help us improve adherence with Traya is this layer of hair coaches. Hair coach at Traya is somebody who supports, guides you during the journey. So it's post-sale, right? In the world, wherever you buy any product, people sell you expensive products and then you are on your own. Nobody comes back asking, did it help? We really wanted to change that. So of the 800 people, I think good 600 are the Traya hair coaches that help more than 10 lakh Indians today on this journey.
Can you talk a little bit about what is the Traya regime, right? Because I think, like you said, it sits at the sits at the intersection of Ayurveda, nutrition, and dermatology. And there's something, there's a topical element, there's a consumable element. So talk a little bit about what that solution looks like.
Sure. So the Traya program starts with diagnosis. It's very important for us to understand why you are going through hair loss. And even though it's, let's say, genetic hair loss, what are the different things in your body that's triggering and escalating that hair loss condition? So it starts with a hair test, which is practically a diagnosis. We also get pictures of the customer's headshots to be able to see the advancement, the pattern, etc. And once the diagnosis is done, we use an algorithm-generated plan where at Traya, we don't sell any single product. It's the customized kit. So the kit is a box of different things, everything that you need for your hair to regrow. So it will have a shampoo, a oil, a serum, but most important, certain supplements that rectify the root causes of your hair loss. So it's a kit that we sell, and this kit is decided by Traya. So you cannot come to Traya and as a consumer choose a product, add to cart and buy. That's not allowed. You have to buy the entire kit. Once you place the order, the kit goes to an actual dermatologist, and the dermatologist approves the plan, defines the exact dosage, treatment plan, etc. And with the prescription, the box reaches your house. So that's the entire Traya sort of journey for you to get started. And of course, the moment you get started, you get a dedicated hair coach who helps you succeed with the treatment.
Just on the point of habit forming, so we had I'd previously invested in a pharmacy business. And we always commented how our biggest competitor was not any other pharmacy, but the lack of adherence, right? And even diabetics wouldn't be taking their medicine consistently. Hair loss is a big problem for a lot of people, right? It has to do with self-confidence, how you feel about yourself. Why do people still not adhere? Why do we still need coaches calling folks up and telling them, what's the progress? Have you been consistently consuming medicine, applying the product?
Well, if I'll ask a question here of how many people here want to lose weight, almost all of us will raise our hands. The number will be different, but almost everyone. We also know what needs to be done to lose weight, but can we do it? Right? So there is intent, there is pain, but it's also difficult. And the journey gets even more difficult because there's confusion. There's information overload. Should I eat this? Should I eat that? You get started on something and then within a month you give up too soon. So there are a lot of these solvable things. That is what we sort of solve through our layer of coaches and tech, etc. And I don't think we've sort of solved the problem 100%. So 100% of people who start the treatment don't reach the finish line. But over the years, we've really improved that number through multiple techniques borrowed from behavioral science, right? We make our consumers accountable. We tell them to begin with that it will take 5 months, right? We're the first company in the world, hair company in the world, that from the first advertisement says it will take 5 months to see results. In a world where you hear hair fall control in 4 washes, right? Because that really changes the retention output. If the consumer is coming from the right, expectation, they know that this is going to take time. This is a journey. This is a commitment. So yes, you're absolutely right. If we crack the retention engine, then it's a problem solved way larger than hair loss. It's everywhere.
No, that's so true. Maybe just taking a step back. I know Altaf is not from the science background. At least he is.
He's actually a biomedical
Chemistry,
chemistry background. But of course, he's did his MBA and he's done a food company, affordable housing company. So he's the true startup guy. But to some extent, we both do not come from the science.
Yeah, and how, there is a lot of science that goes into the solution that you provide. When you were starting up, like how did you, what process did you undertake to learn? Because like you said, you were solving something for Altaf, which was a personal pain point, and you must have had to do a lot of research, R&D, and then how did you validate that? Like if you can just describe that process early on. How much time did it take? How much did you fail and then
Sure. So I think we started with primary research. We read every research paper there on the problem. We read every clinical study ever done. We started meeting doctors. Allopathy is a or dermatology rather, is a very, very easy problem statement to crack. There are just 2 molecules discovered by human mankind since 1980. There's no major discovery after that. Everything that you hear, new, whatever, is gray area. But clinically proven, there are just 2 molecules. So whenever you go see a dermatologist, they are going to just play with some version of these 2 molecules. Ayurveda, on the other hand, was a difficult science to crack. Every Ayurveda doctor talks differently, has a different approach, a different protocol. And it's impossible to read Sanskrit, right? So we literally sat down on whatever translations were available. We traveled across Kerala, Himachal, and Bombay to meet 12 Ayurveda doctors. And finally met somebody who could really explain the science in a way where we could understand. And some level of trust building happened between that doctor and us. And that doctor solved Altaf's hypothyroidism through diet and herbs. And so it was a journey, but he was the first guy who joined Altaf and me when we started Traya. So we got him on board, and he is the brain behind formulating most Ayurvedic formulations. Of course, as we grew, the R&D came in and we got formulators. But if you see Traya, even today, 5 years later, we just have 25 SKUs. But we have nutraceutical, dermatology, and Ayurveda, right? So we realized that there's no one R&D lab we can go to and get our formulations done. So what we did in the early days where there was very little money is we went to these freelance scientists, right? And there are plenty of them available in this country. They have their own labs. You can go and research. So we went to the best guy to develop our shampoo. We went to the best guy to develop our vitamin, who was known for his nutraceutical. Of course, today we have that skill set in-house, but I think a lot of people have helped us. Dr. Shailendra, who was our first employee and first person who came on board, actually worked with us almost for 6-7 months for free because we had no money. So I think a lot of people came our way to help us to be able to bring this to life.
That's amazing. And you know, as you look forward, I think the buzzword that everyone's talking about, AI. You have tons of data. I think you've done like 2 million hair tests. You're talking to customers every week, if not every day. You're learning a lot. You're collecting a lot of data. What role do you see AI playing as you go forward and Traya evolves?
Everything. It's not a buzzword anymore. I think it's there. We're using AI for today we're using AI for dominant use cases, say diagnosis, accuracy check on prescriptions. Just to give you an example, like I said, there are 500 hair coaches that do about 30 consumer phone conversations per day. And most bank, etc., call centers, have a quality team. So the quality team does quality checks. And quality checks are probably done on 1% of the total call volume that happens. At Traya, we use AI, where the entire call conversation gets converted into a transcript. And AI does quality ranking to how the coach is talking, not talking, which means quality checks happen on 100% of conversations. But this is just a use case. So there are these remote use cases at Traya at multiple places. However, I see that in the next 8 to 10 months, AI will be everywhere. AI will drastically change the org structure of the organization, which is not yet that has happened at Traya, but I drastically see that the way, there are 2 people at L1, 4 at L2, 5, 8 at L3, and then there is a L4. I think this pyramid is going to change if we really adopt AI properly.
And do you see it playing a role in the core solution itself? Like,
absolutely, that goes for, that's for sure. Like we are working on a agentic AI piece where they can do what the coach does. And can the typical use cases be handled by AI? Then there is the AI in diagnosis, AI in checking how doctors are working, because we have such a huge team of 150 doctors now. So AI use cases in the solution is definitely there. AI on predicting, I should call Varun today and nudge him to get back to the treatment, or not call Varun, et cetera, et cetera. So those use cases are there, but I think AI is going to be everywhere.
Maybe just changing track to a little bit to distribution. You've been online primarily. I think you have just opened a couple of clinics, if I'm not wrong, in Pune. What's the plan there? And why experiment with the offline? How do you see that evolve over time?
So the day we started Traya, we took about a year to sort of fine-tune the formulations. And that was my year to understand the consumer. I had this insight from day one, Varun, that the consumer wants to show the head physically to someone. At that point, COVID happened. That's the time we started Traya. So there was no option to set up clinics. And we had to build an online company, which was a great blessing in disguise, because the scale that we reached wouldn't have been possible with just offline. But we've always heard this from our consumers that, if there are 100 consumers out there suffering through hair loss, there are 30 who will trust online. And there is another layer who watches Traya's ads, comes, takes the test, keeps on telling us I have hair loss, but doesn't start the treatment. And the only reason there is I want to show my head to someone. Can I just meet someone? So I think offline will really help us improve our penetration. And Pune is an example. We've launched in Pune, and the way Pune has grown over the last 8 months after adding offline layer is a sort of proves the hypothesis.
Yeah, and maybe as an extension to that, if you don't mind talking about who is your target customer, how do you think about him or her, and how do you see that evolving over time?
Sure. So anyone who is between 25 to 45, suffering through hair loss, men and women, all types of hair loss, especially genetic hair loss in men, because that's a very big problem, and a solution other than Traya cannot help them, right? All of these cases are TG. Interestingly, Traya cuts through a very, very varied range of premium to massy category. So we would have India 1 plus India 2, which means people sitting in the room would also be Traya customers, and a mechanic in Jaunpur, Uttar Pradesh is also a Traya customer. In fact, 80% of Traya is now Tier 2 plus. I mean, if you look at, let's say, apparel, right, just to draw parallels, if you look at shampoo brands, you have shampoo premium 5,000 rupees. Similar formulation, 2,000 rupees. Similar formulation coming down to a 300 rupee shampoo, and then going to the sachets. Basically a brand that is built for every segment, which is not holds true for Traya, because people across segments are suffering through hair loss and nothing is growing their hair. So I think we really cut through, and there are challenges as a brand owner. There are lots of challenges on how do you really handle customer experience for such a varied range of consumers that you're dealing with, but that's the reality.
That's such an interesting challenge because you typically see, your brands very clearly segmented, right? Like you're saying price point wise, but positioning wise as well. You're a brand that straddles up and down the economic pyramid, people speaking in languages, preferences. How, as a custodian of the brand, how do you build out the brand while ensuring you don't alienate anyone? Because the problem is far and wide, right?
I think I'm still learning. Channels that are very, where you don't have control of segmentation. Let's say television, right? If a Traya ad has to go on a television, I will have to take a call whether it's going to be in Hindi, English, whether it's going to, be relatable to a India 1 guy who is, well-to-do, or a Masi India 2 guy, right? So still struggling there, but I took a strategic call that there is more, Traya will scale better if it's not limited to metros and India 1. And it was a strategic call that we took that, hey, let's build for Bharat. And 3 years ago, we started pointing all our marketing initiatives to Tier 1 plus. And I think now we've sort of been able to do that. But most of our inputs are Hindi, English, or English. And because of that, Traya's penetration in northern India is way better than southern India. So I still have those challenges. And on the app, it's pretty easy because you can segment the user, right? So if you're sitting in Bombay, you're going to get very different push notifications than you are sitting in Lucknow to a guy sitting in Jaunpur. But I think for channels like television, etc., it's a valid challenge.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good problem to have. Good problem to have. And I know I should have touched on this earlier, but like maybe if you can just paint for us how big of a problem is hair loss. Like, because just in terms of numbers, it seems like you read a lot. We have more stress in life, so hair loss is more. But is that true? On average, out of every 10 men, how many people would suffer from this?
Yeah. So this is medical NIH reported data. 6 in 10 men in India suffer hair loss. 6 in 10. 10 on 10 women suffer some form of hair fall, hair loss. And that's how huge it is. It's a pandemic. It's everywhere, every place.
And it's growing.
And it's growing. And it's accelerating, right? So genetic hair loss was always a problem, but your grandfather got it when he was in his 70th birthday, he started to bald. Your father got it when he was in his 50s or 60s. Average age of Traya consumer, men, is 27.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Why more men than women, though, as customers today?
No, for Traya, more men than women.
Yeah.
The TAM is the other way around. And the reason is, Varun, because Traya is built by engineers. So when engineers build brand through data, so we did men and then we got men. So we did more of inputs for men. We got more men and we became a men brand and we didn't realize. But just a year ago, we launched Traya Women and we said, hey, we've sort of, let's start focusing on the other side of the gender, and now we're doing that.
And how's that going?
Wonderful. It's scaled up pretty well.
And this is not just an India problem. This is a global problem, I imagine. So what are your aspirations there?
The dream is to take Traya to the world, and I think the beauty of Traya is that the efficacy that it brings to the table is, I think, through there are a lot of things, but it's at core is Ayurveda. So by the way, recently a clinical trial got published in International Journal of Dermatology in the US. And that trial was done on a study here in India where Traya was tested against one of the most efficacious molecule called minoxidil, which is used for regrowth. So it was an independent study done by someone else. It was a 1.5 year long study. And that study says that minoxidil, which is considered, I mean, it's prescribed by every doctor in the world. It's considered the most efficacious molecule. Traya also uses minoxidil, but because of Traya's regime, like the Ayurveda and the nutrition and everything coming together, the efficacy or the hair density increased 3 times than just using minoxidil. And I think that the beauty of Ayurveda, the beauty of the holistic way of solving a health problem needs to be taken to the world. And when it reaches the world, I would want it to be an Indian brand rather than, you know, someone sitting in the US claiming success for Ayurveda.
No, you know, just to take your point forward, right? Like, I look at a lot of acne brands, and the often when I talk to dermatologists, the answer is not just applying something topical. It is, oh, you need the topical, the ingestible, everything, because it's got to do with your gut at some level as well. But for some reason, it's in hair, it's worked really well, but we've not been able to, you know, we are the Traya for acne, we are the Traya for pigmentation. And
You hear that?
we hear that a lot. But we don't see, people have tried, but unsuccessfully for some reason. And I've never been able to put my finger on why it's not happened everywhere else, but it's happened so successfully in hair, beyond the fact that you all are just amazing at what you all do.
I think because maybe those founders are smart and we were foolish. It's very difficult to build what we did. To go out and sell a 3,000 rupee kit and tell the consumer, you are not going to decide what to buy, we will tell you what to buy, and we will tell you to eat ingestibles because that's what you need to eat, is very stubborn and it's difficult. It cannot be achieved if you're copying someone. I think that conviction can only come if you, but if there's someone out there building it, I think the Traya's combination therapy applies to every issue that doesn't have a single pill solution. Cholesterol, diabetes, thyroid, PCOS, hormonal imbalance, problems, acne, all of these require holistic way of solving the problem.
So are there other, let's say if you were to start Traya today, are there other problems that you'd go after, like with this whole GLP-1, what's happening, anything else?
I would stay away from weight. And that's a very personal choice because, of course, I feel that it's the toughest category to solve unless you have something that, like Ozempic, that really does the game. But it's a very difficult problem statement. To tell somebody to not eat a samosa is way more difficult than, hey, apply this serum, right? So I would want to stay away from weight. But gut health, acne, PCOS, women health is a space that excites us, and hopefully someday we'll get to work in these directions.
That's awesome. I think we have a few minutes left in case anyone in the audience has questions, otherwise I'll keep going. Can we get a mic, please?
So I get served several ads like Traya, Ravel, Regrows, Good Bug. So there are a lot of ads that have come to my Instagram and stuff. And I've actually gone through the diagnosis phase as well, and it reached a point where you actually have to click the photos. And that's where I stopped. So coming back to the question you asked, why would I choose to come to Traya and not go to a trichologist if at the end of the day I have to show or put pictures up? Like, what would be that edge that will get me to be with Traya than anybody else, where I can physically show it?
No, wonderful question. And 5 years ago, when we thought of starting Traya, we had the same question. Of course, some background to the point where we came to start Traya. My husband, who was stage 3 male pattern hair loss, had been taking PRP sessions and using minoxidil for about 5 years. And he was able to manage his hair loss. But it was this journey of fixing his thyroid through Ayurveda, using a naturopathy diet, etc., where his hair drastically regrew. So we knew through conviction, not through clinical data at that point, that we have something which is way more powerful than what a dermatologist can offer to begin with. But we had the same point, and we did our surveys. So here is some data from survey done 5 years ago before we started Traya. We all know India's population, right? We all know 6 in 10 men suffer hair loss, and 10 on 10 women will have hair fall at some point in their life. There are just 15,000 registered dermatologists in this country, all concentrated to Tier 1 and Tier 2. So if you are sitting in Jaunpur, you do not have a dermat at all. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, we went to people in Mumbai. We did the survey with about 5,000 people suffering hair loss. And we said, do you have hair loss? They said yes. We asked, have you gone seen a dermatologist? And the percentage was 2%. 2 in 100 people actually go and see a dermat, even in Tier 1 and Tier 2, where there is an availability. And we were shocked. Just to give you another data point, right? Most dermats prescribe minoxidil, right? The top company back then who was selling minoxidil was Dr. Reddy. And Dr. Reddy's annual revenue of minoxidil across all the dermats in the country was 55 crore per year. Indulekha, back then, did a revenue of 500 crore claiming to solve hair loss through an oil. So you see the problem? If people watch Traya's ad and decide to go and visit a dermat, we've won the game. We have, with about 100 dermatologists that work full-time with Traya, been able to provide a prescribe-based treatment to 10 lakh plus Indians across the country through our tech. So we internally believe that, one, Traya will take dermatologist-backed treatment to the country through less dermats, because that's a problem. And two, it's technically, now there's clinical trial that I talked about, right? Traya is 3x better in hair regrowth than minoxidil, which technically means better results than just going to a dermat. It's almost like going to a dermat, going to a great Ayurveda doctor, going to a nutritionist, and then getting the benefits of all the three.
Thank you for the clarity. I just have one more question, just out of interest. You mentioned that you have like over 2 million customer data that you're sitting on. You also highlighted that AI is something that's going to be everywhere. Just out of interest and curiosity, with that kind of data in AI, which is able to analyze and drive inferences and make the algorithm to serve better, where does it put the 500, 600 hair coaches that you have in future?
So I'm also hoping to reduce the number of hair coaches, or rather scale with the 500 hair coaches. I have been able to automate a lot of things through tech and AI. So for example, AI tells me who are the customers that the coaches should call. We don't call 100% of the consumers. And there are certain consumers who book, Traya is inbound, right? So people book the conversation, like the call, and the coach calls. But the human, I don't know how to articulate it, but the experience and the emotional connection that the consumer builds with Traya just because of talking to the hair coach, AI today cannot do that, right? If you will go to Google reviews and type Traya's review, one thing common that you will see among all the positive reviews that people have filled in is they'll name their hair coaches. Oh, Shilpa helped me so much during this journey. At my moments of doubt, she told me how to, be disciplined, on how to use the diet. She was guiding, supporting. So it's an emotional connection. AI today cannot do that. So if there's a consumer who wants to know how to use the box, 2 years ago, the coaches would explain how to use the box. Today, there is an AI bot that explains how to use it. But that emotional layer only comes through coaches, and it's a very important contributing factor to brand loyalty and retention.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Saloni. Thank you for all those stories.
Thank you.
Superb.
basically, you are here in Mumbai. Mumbai is I am from Kolkata. And there are tier 2, tier 3 cities. How many people know and how many people can reach out to you and can be reached out? Can be reached out. Because I still don't think even in Kolkata and the northeast and a parts, much awareness is there. So,
You are
is it there?
absolutely right. We are extremely small. We are a very, very small startup, sir. Just to give you some data point, right? Of the people who can afford us, of those people who have hair loss, of those people who want and need Traya, we've till now reached only 4%. Beyond that 4%, people do not know us. And I think, yes, and that's the hope. Will become a household brand wherever there'll be a conversation about hair loss. Traya will be used in the same sentence. Yeah.
I think on that note, a huge round of applause to them both. Very big thank you to Varun and Saloni. We have a small token of appreciation. So requesting Varun to please do the honors to present it to Saloni. Once again, thank you, Saloni, for being here with us. Ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause. Come on. Once again, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Varun.